Welcome to Litbit channel. Today we will see farce. We see origin of the word farce. The term farce has its root in the Latin word fargere, which means to stuff. This reflects how farce originated as comic interludes stuffed into otherwise serious plays during the Middle Age, providing a moment of lightened relief amidst heavier themes. Definition of farce. Farce is described as a genre of comedy that focuses on eliciting uproarious laughter through absurdity. This involves presenting highly exaggerated characters, over the top situations, illogical and nonsensical dialogue. The goal is not subtle humor but a direct, almost chaotic form of entertainment. When it was started, the origin of farce date back to ancient Greece and Rome, where comedic plays often includes ridiculous and exaggerated elements. During the medieval period, farce becomes prominent in Europe, particularly in France, where it evolved into a key form of theatrical comedy. Pioneer and their work. The term farce was first recorded in 13th century France. Jean-Baptiste Poquelin is regarded as a pioneer of farcical comedy. His famous works such as The Mister and Tartuffe embody farce by using exaggerated characters and satirical humor to critique societal followers and their works. William Shakespeare incorporated farcical elements in plays like A Midsummer Night Dreams and The Comedy of Error, using absurd scenarios and mistaken identities for humor. Duke of Buckingham, his plays The Rehearsal is the notable example of 17th century farce. Modern writers Oscar Wilde, the importance of being earnest, exemplifies farce with its wit, absurd situations, and exaggerated social critique. George Fito, A Flea in Her Years, is a classic modern farce filled with rapid pacing and absurdities. Let's see what are the rules followed by farce. Farce operates without strict rules but prioritizes humor. It thrives on absurdity and physical comedy, improbable situations, minimal depth in character or themes, with a focus on providing entertainment rather than intellectual engagement. Farce is to entertain and provoke laughter. It achieves this by mocking humans' foolishness, highlighting absurdities in society, and exaggerating behaviors to humorous extremes. It serves several purposes. A comic relief provides an escape from serious or dramatic situation, and escapist entertainment that is engaged audience through exaggerated realities and nonsensical events. Then social satire, that is criticize social norms, hypocrisy and stupidity through humor. Features of farce include exaggerated and caricatured characters, absurd and improbable scenarios, then physical comedy and slapstick humor, fast pacing action and energy, clever wordplay, puns and witty dialogue. Farce is characterized by simple plot structure, extravagant and nonsensical situation, accessibility to a world audience with minimal intellectual demand, over the top acting and highlighted emotional expression. Examples of famous farce includes The Rehearsal by Duke of Buckingham, A Midsummer Night's Dreams by William Shakespeare, The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde, Noisy Off by Michael Farm. Farce is a simplicity in appreciation. Farce is designed for universal enjoyment. It does not require intellectual engagements, critical thinking, or cultural knowledge, making it accessible and enjoyable for people of all backgrounds. Its straightforward humor ensures it appeals to a broad audience. Farcical elements in Shakespearean's play. William Shakespeare integrated farce into his comedies, particularly to entertain commoners in his audience. For instance, in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the absurdity of Titania, the fairy queen falling in love with Bottoms, transformed into a donkey-headed figure, epitomizes farce with its exaggerated and surreal humor. The audience in Shakespeare's times. Shakespeare's plays were performed on public stage attracting a diverse crowd, things who were primarily lower class, uneducated spectators standing in its pit. Shakespeare incorporated loud, exaggerated humor to cater to their taste and ensure his plays entertained people of a full-length farce. The rehearsal by the Duke of Belgium is cited as a quintessential example of a full-length farce written in the late 17th century. It sustains humor throughout by employing absurd characters and exaggerated scenarios, maintaining the essence of farcical comedy across the play. Origin and growth in detail. The terms farce originated from the Latin fargere to stuff. It initially referred to comic interlude inserted into serious religious play during the Middle Ages. During the Renaissance, farce becomes a distinct genre, thriving in French street performance and developing into structured theatrical productions. In Elizabethan England, farce was incorporated into stage plays to entertain a diverse audience, including uneducated groundling. By the 17th and 18th century, farce evolved in more sophisticated forms of comedy, influencing the comedies of manners that continue to entertain audiences today. In conclusion part, farce endures as a timeless form of comedy. Its appeals lie in its ability to elicit laughter by exaggerating human absurdities and societal norms. By adapting to cultural change, farce remains a universal and ever evolving genre that continues to entertain audience across generations. Let's recall this chapter. What is a farce? Farce is a type of comedy that uses exaggerated, absurd situations and character to make people laugh. It is all about creating humor through ridiculous and nonsensical elements. Next one, what is the origin of the word farce? The term farce comes from the Latin word fargere, meaning to stuff. Originally, humorous scenes were instead into serious plays into them later. Next one, what are the main features of a farce? Farce includes absurd characters, improbable situation, physical comedy, exaggerated action, and clever dialogues. Next one, who were the groundling? Groundling were common, uneducated people who stood in a pit of public theatres during Shakespeare time. Why is farce considered a low comedy? Farce is called low comedy because it does not aim for intellectual humor but instead use basic exaggeration to entertain. What is the main aim of farce? The goal of farce is to entertain and make people laugh by showing absurd human behavior and situation. Name an example farcical scenes in Shakespearean play. A Midsummer Night Dreams. Britannia, the fairy queen, falls in love with Bottoms, who has been turned into an ass. What is the significance of exaggerations in farce? Exaggeration makes characters and situations funny by making them bigger, louder, and are more ridiculous than normal. Farce does appeal to the broad audience. Farce is simple, easy to understand, and use universal humor like physical comedy, which appeals to kind of audience. Name a famous farce by the Duke of Buckingham. The Duke of Buckingham, the rehearsal is a well-known farce written in the late 17th century. What role does nonsense play in farce? Nonsense is crucial in farce because it creates absurd situations and dialogues, making the humor more ridiculous and entertaining. What is physical comedy used in farce? Physical comedy involves exaggerated movements, slapstick action, and funny visual gags to make the audience laugh. What is the purpose of farce in theatre? The purpose of farce is to provide a light-hearted entertainment, comic relief, and an escape from serious or real-world problems. How does farce differ from satire? Farce focuses on exaggerated humor and nonsense, while satire uses wit and irony to criticize social norms and behavior. Why was farce popular in Shakespeare's times? Farce was popular because it entertained everyone, including the groundlings, with its simple humors and exaggerated character. Name two farcical plays by Morley. Two farcical plays by Morley. The Missa and Tadu. What is the typical plot structure of the farce? Farce usually has a simple plot with absurd situation, fast-paced action, and humorous resolution. Why was a farce not require so much intelligence to understand? Farce relies on visual humor, exaggerated action, and simple, silly situations that are funny to almost everyone. What type of humor is commonly used in farce? Farce often uses slapstick humor, wordplay, puns, and absurdity to evoke laughter. What is the historical growth of farce? Farce started in ancient Greece and Rome, developed in medieval France, and evolved during the Renaissance into statured comedy. Thank you, viewers. Thanks for watching this video.